Welcome to our defense briefing show. Today, we're diving into some intense headlines. First up, President Donald Trump has declared the U.S. is in an armed conflict with drug cartels, labeling them as terrorist organizations and justifying military strikes in the Caribbean. Critics worry about overreach and legality, but the move aims to crack down on drug trafficking. Next, during the government shutdown, federal agencies have been pointing fingers at Democrats through official channels, blaming them for the deadlock. This politicization raises eyebrows about the neutrality of government agencies and whether it violates the Hatch Act, stirring controversy and concerns about public trust. Finally, the U.S. is stepping up its game against China in maritime trade. New port fees on Chinese ships are causing a realignment in global shipping routes, with companies shifting away from Chinese vessels. This move signals a broader rivalry that could reshape international trade and strategic power. Please continue to watch for more details. The South China Morning Post reports that President Donald Trump has declared drug cartels as unlawful combatants, placing the United States in a non-international armed conflict following recent military strikes on vessels in the Caribbean. This decision, communicated to Congress via a classified memo, marks a significant shift in legal and military strategy, as Trump's administration asserts that these transnational criminal organizations now pose an armed threat comparable to terrorist groups. The strikes, including a deadly attack on a speedboat believed to be operated by the Tran de Aragua gang, classified earlier as a terrorist organization, have ignited debate among lawmakers about the legality and scope of executive authority. Critics, including Democrats and human rights advocates, argue that this move could represent an overreach of presidential power, especially since military force is being used for law enforcement purposes without explicit congressional approval. The administration's framing of the cartels as belligerents in an armed conflict aims to justify extraordinary wartime powers, but it has also raised concerns about the potential erosion of constitutional checks and balances, with some lawmakers urging Congress to assert its war powers under the War Powers Act to regulate or block such unilateral actions. The City Morning Herald echoes these concerns, emphasizing the startling scope of Trump's declaration and its implications for U.S. military and legal norms. The memo, obtained by the Associated Press, underscores a bold assertion that drug cartels now operate as transnational threats, conducting ongoing attacks across the Western Hemisphere, prompting Trump to classify them as terrorist organizations and declare their actions as armed attacks against the U.S. This move followed a series of lethal military operations targeting vessels originating from Venezuela amid a buildup of American maritime forces in the Caribbean. However, officials appeared caught off guard by the administration's legal stance, with Pentagon and White House representatives refraining from detailed comments. Critics, including senators from both parties, have voiced skepticism about the legality of these actions, warning that such measures could bypass congressional oversight and undermine established legal protocols. Senator Jack Reed, a leading Democrat, condemned the lack of credible legal justification and questioned the military's assessment process before strikes, highlighting fears that Trump's broad interpretation of wartime powers might set a dangerous precedent for future executive actions. The Associated Press reports a troubling trend where federal agencies, amid the ongoing government shutdown, are actively politicizing their communication channels by blaming Democrats for the deadlock, from the Department of Housing and Urban Development to the Department of Education. Official websites and employee email messages have been transformed into platforms for partisan messaging, accusing Democrats of blocking essential funding and even linking the shutdown to policies like health insurance tax credits. This politicization has sparked concern among ethics experts and watchdogs who argue that such actions violate the Hatch Act, which restricts political activities of federal employees. The White House has also embraced the partisan tone, with the White House website displaying a real-time tally of how long Democrats have supposedly shut down the government, further eroding public trust in the impartiality of government institutions. Asia details a significant shift in U.S.-China maritime relations, highlighting the upcoming imposition of new port fees on Chinese-owned or built ships by the United States. This policy, aimed at countering China's maritime dominance and boosting American shipbuilding, could cost Chinese shipping giant COSCO over $2 billion annually, according to HSBC estimates. Historically, the arrival of Chinese vessels like the MV Liu Lin Hai in 1979 marked the beginning of a burgeoning trade relationship, but current tensions threaten to reshape global shipping routes. Many shipping companies are already rerouting their fleets to avoid Chinese-built ships from U.S. ports, and experts warn that this could lead to prolonged costs and logistical complexities, with China potentially responding with retaliatory measures. The broader geopolitical struggle over maritime infrastructure and trade dominance underscores a future where global shipping is increasingly influenced by superpower rivalry and strategic policies. Yahoo US covers Vice President J.D. Vance's support for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's controversial stance on military grooming standards, notably his call for soldiers to shave their beards and conform to traditional discipline. Vance, a Marine Corps veteran, praised Hegseth's push to restore high standards, criticizing what he perceives as the Biden administration's lowering of military discipline. During a speech at the Marine Corps base in Quantico, Hegseth condemned woke culture in the military, criticizing the presence of beards and perceived lack of fitness among some senior officers, which he argued undermines the military's image. Vance echoed these sentiments, defending the move to enforce grooming standards and suggesting that such discipline is essential for the military's strength and tradition. The remarks sparked criticism from retired generals and defense officials who found Hegseth's comments offensive and inappropriate, highlighting ongoing debates over military culture, discipline, and the influence of political figures on armed forces. The Associated Press vividly depicts how Colombia's military is finding emotional refuge through their furry force, a troop of support dogs like Cartels, Rafa, and Lupa, who bring comfort to wounded soldiers at Bogota's Central Military Hospital. These dogs serve as more than companions, they are therapeutic agents, helping soldiers like Second Sergeant Jason Sanchez Duque forget pain and focus on happiness amid Colombia's ongoing conflict with illegal armed groups. Despite a peace agreement in 2016, violence persists, with explosive incidents rising sharply, especially involving drones, landmines, and other explosive devices. The program, initiated in April 2024, has expanded to include patient and staff wellness, demonstrating how these animals significantly aid emotional recovery, especially for those like Luis Miguel Lopez, who lost part of his leg to a mine and found renewed joy in the dog's visits, recalling a heroic anti-explosives dog that once saved his unit. Yahoo US reports on the FAA's strategic move to enhance safety near Washington, D.C. Yeah, by establishing buffer zones around the major airports, such as Baltimore, Washington, Thurgood Marshall, Dulles, and Reagan National. These road modifications come after a series of near misses and a tragic mid-air collision involving an American Airlines jet and an Army Black Hawk helicopter, which resulted in 67 fatalities. The FAA's efforts include tighter separation measures and clearer operational instructions, reflecting heightened concerns over the dense and risky air traffic in the region. This crackdown follows previous restrictions imposed on helicopter flights near the Pentagon and Las Vegas, as authorities grapple with hundreds of incidents involving aircraft proximity, emphasizing the need for stricter airspace management amid ongoing safety criticisms. The Times leader from Wilkes-Barre sheds light on a tense legal battle over a homicide case where William Hunter Snyder's attorneys argue that his confession was unlawfully obtained under questionable circumstances. They contend Snyder was coerced, tricked, and interrogated under stale Miranda warnings, with claims that law enforcement exploited his former role as a state trooper and his family's military background to pressure him into confessing. The case involves the shooting of Army Staff Sergeant John Rabbits Jr., with police recording Rabbits' dying declaration implicating Snyder. The defense seeks to suppress various pieces of evidence, including a graphic 911 call, police body camera footage, and Snyder's social media activity asserting violations of his constitutional rights. The court is scheduled to hear motions in December, with the trial set for January, amidst ongoing investigations into the circumstances surrounding the confession and evidence collection. CNN reports on Russian President Vladimir Putin's stark warnings that Moscow will respond swiftly if Europe provokes Russia amidst escalating tensions over Ukraine. Putin claims that nearly the entire NATO alliance is engaged against Russia through intelligence sharing, weapons supplies, and military training to Ukraine. He dismisses Western claims of Russia being a paper tiger, asserting that Russia possesses the world's most capable army and that any provocation would be met with rapid countermeasures. Putin's rhetoric underscores Moscow's view that Western European hysteria and NATO expansion post-1991 threaten Russia's security, framing the Ukraine conflict as a pivotal moment in Moscow's struggle to maintain influence and defend its borders. His comments come as Western nations continue to support Ukraine, warning of the dangers of escalation and emphasizing Russia's readiness to defend its interests. Finally, the BBC details France's recent crackdown on Russia's alleged shadow fleet, highlighting the detention of the captain of the oil tanker Boracay, suspected of evading sanctions by changing its registration and flag multiple times. The vessel, believed to be part of a broader network of Russian ships used to bypass international sanctions on energy exports, was seized near Brest after French authorities found inconsistencies in its documentation and flag. The ship's captain faces charges for refusing orders and failing to clarify its nationality, raising concerns about Russia's efforts to obscure its energy exports amid the Ukraine conflict. The incident ties into wider fears of maritime evasion tactics, with Western nations intensifying efforts to monitor and restrict Russian energy shipments, including drone incursions into European airspace, which remain under investigation for potential links to Moscow's covert operations. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopsis thoughtfully curated by the 6DO team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6DO Brief, It's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making, comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists. The 6DO team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6DO brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6DO brief via email.
News breaks, buzz the ground, stories spin, walls come down, voices merge in the sound, faces mix in the crowd. Broadcasters paint the scene, world events on our screen, every link a different theme, words collide in the stream. 6 degrees connect the dots, background stories more than us. Hear the voices rise aloft, truth unveils in every spot. Cultures clash across the globe, spin the threads in a strobe. Every story wears a robe, truth and lies in their code. Journalists dig real deep, secrets out, they don't sleep. Every angle they will keep, in the news we take a leap. New perspectives day by day.